Welcome to Laura's View and Tarot 2. I'm really glad you're here. Today's date is Tuesday, May 30th, 2023. Yesterday, when the United States was celebrating Memorial Day, our fallen warriors were honored. There was voting happening in Canada in a very important election in the Alberta province. And I'd like to share some data with you about that. I'm going to go to a share screen. As always, this will be a Facebook compilation that you can find by following a link in the video description box. That way I can share links with you in some form or fashion. This is by no means all the information that's available out there about the election, but I wanted you to see what I compiled to start speaking before we did a tarot read. Okay, now I have done a read about Danielle Smith in the past. Seems to have gotten some good results, that she was on a path of light and maybe a version 2.0. I will incorporate that thought into phrasing of the question to the universe. But like so many 2.0s, if they're aligned with the white hats and the alliance, they do fabulous things for their country and their people. So let's not dismiss them all as unworthy of positive action. Okay, let me show you what I'm talking about the election yesterday in the province of Alberta, Canada, and the winner was Danielle Smith. This came from a discussion site. The United Conservative Party, UCP, led at the start, in the middle, and at the end. Danielle Smith, soon to be sworn in again, is a real premier-elect, not just the choice of her party. Hers is a remarkable odyssey marked by loss as Wild Rose leader in 2012, floor crossing in 2015, a virtual exile from public life, then a comeback as a commentator, and then, still shocking to many, capturing the UPC leadership and becoming premier. Okay, this came in an email from a voter in Alberta. Yesterday, she summed up her experience voting in the Alberta election. Some big differences noted. Our town is now divided by blocks. Something like every 3 blocks are sectioned and numbered. ID is required, and then they asked me to point out my home on a large map. The map was turned around, oriented north-south. She found that a little suspicious. I think she put a by it. I haven't seen any Danielle Smith signs on people's lawns, only NDP, that's the new Democratic Party in Alberta, sprinkled around. Any of Smith's signs on the main roads in Redcliffe keep getting stolen pretty much every night, so they were very actively removing any signage for Danielle Smith, in addition to starting all those fires to keep people distracted, displaced, and what have you. That was my addition to this this person's summary of the voting. Okay, we were mailed a voter registration card, but I didn't bring mine. Seems a lot of precautions were taking place. Well, I'm waiting for the voting results. There was a literal landslide of early voting, never seen like that before in this province. I think Danielle's got a slam dunk, but the voter setup is pretty suspicious, almost like a sting operation. We don't vote on machines, it's ballots hand counted. Okay, here's an article from the Calgary Herald that you can read if you'd like to. And I thought it might be interesting to see how it looked like the voting ended up in the, I'm sorry that I can't enlarge this. The blue is those that voted with the United Conservative Party. Only the little little dots that are towns, seem to have gone UPC. So, and I said that backwards, I apologize. The urban areas went with the new Democratic Party. And I did read in one discussion board, someone said, and mine flipped suspiciously overnight. So even in his urban area, when he went to bed, UPC was ahead. When he woke up, all of a sudden, the new Democratic Party was. Now, I think there was a lot of efforts on the part of the deep state to have shenanigans because they had a very unpopular candidate platform, and they've really done a lot of damage in Alberta. Okay, Danielle Smith is a popular premier. She has pushed through some legislation that's been very people and family centered and Alberta centered. And while some of her stances may take a while to work out or end up being unfeasible, she has proven herself to be a people politician. At least now. I'm not speaking about her back in 2007. I didn't know her then. Okay. So I wanted to ask the cards about this election though. It seems like what has made the difference was the sudden inability of the machines to be used and the hand counting of voting. So I'd like to know if white hats were involved with making hand counted votes necessary, and is there other information or insights about this election that the universe wants to share with us? And congratulations, Danielle Smith. I hope you keep doing a fabulous job for your province and setting the bar high for the rest of the provinces on good leadership and people-centered leadership. So kudos to you, lady. Okay, let's see what the universe has to say about this election, especially was there some white hat involvement in making the hand counting necessary? I'm curious. I want to find out. Let's find out together. Hey, the election yesterday in Alberta, Canada, the winner seems to be Danielle Smith. The person seen in the public eye is Danielle Smith. I'd like insights and information on the election, especially if there was white hat involvement in the hand counting being necessary. It doesn't seem like that was the original plan. And I know there's a push in my country more and more to do away with machines, period. So maybe the way to go. We'll find out here. Okay, we have the 5 of Cups and the 10 of Swords. 5 of Swords, Queen of Cups, Judgment, the High Priestess, and another 5, the 5 of Wands. Let's talk about what the cards are indicating and intuitively what I've gotten from them. There should be a blend of card meaning and intuitive insights. Now, what I'm getting overall in this reading is there are some unhappy characters in Alberta, unhappy with this outcome, and it's not the majority of the population. Okay, there is a warning here, and I'll share that with you as we go. And the warning is, first of all, well done on the election, but it's time to look at the processes and review them and make sure that moving forward, there's not a reversal. In other words, the deep state learns from their mistakes just like we do. And it will be necessary to make sure in the future that there's good protocols in place to get at least a semblance of a fair balloting situation. So that's where the warning is. It's kind of like, well done, but it's going to be an ongoing process to try to keep the shenanigans away from balloting situations. I hope that makes sense to you. Okay, now let's look at why I said that. The situation was indicated by the 5 of Cups. Now, also notice we had a 5 show up in the recent past, in the line involving the present and a line involving the future. So those 5s actually have some indications as past, present, future, and I'll share those with you as we go too, because those are part of where I came up with the fact that the Albertans need to be on guard and vigilant to maintain this kind of integrity in their balloting moving forward. Okay, in the recent past, we have the Five of Swords. It's kind of like a hollow victory. So when you have that partial win, possibly, I think the deep state wouldn't have even had what they had without shenanigans. Now, the meaning of a five showing up in the past, it's talking about there was a lack of control. So the deep state lost control of the election process by losing the ability to use as many voting machines as they had hoped to. That's why there was some sadness involved. It's the an end of that era. I don't think elections are ever going to be quite the same again in Alberta and hopefully in other places. So that the 10 here kind of indicates an ending to things. So they better get used to it. I think elections in our world are going to have more integrity as time goes on, not less. And that's good, because then we will really get to see what the majority of the legal voters wish and have that be what comes into play. The Queen of Cups is is here in the present, and she is about emotional intelligence, and it's just smart to be listening to this, to go, hey, they're going to learn from this. They're going to try to pull stuff again. You're going to have to stay on guard, not to be resting on past accomplishments. To be vigilant, use your smarts, use your intelligence. Now let's look at and then the five again here. So we have this one saying they lost some control in the present. Okay, while they were sad, the five indicates there was some empowerment, and the empowerment was to have some integrity restored to the election process. So that's what the five stands for here. Now let's jump down and look at what the five is showing us for the near future. When the five shows up in a future position, that's where I'm getting the advice to look at structures, the voting structures, the procedures, the protocols, and maintain them so that you can avoid having a reversal back to servitude and shenanigans in the future. So that's what the five often means here. Okay, lack of control, empowerment. Be careful to maintain that control. Now let's look at the other cards here. In the near future, we have the Judgment card. There are people who are going to be losing their positions because of, with good cause. Let's just put it that way. Some that are, okay, going to be losing their positions with good cause. Judgments is coming to some. I'm not seeing it as a universal application type of thing, like with a huge world change, but the Judgment card does talk about some truth and honesty. So again, that is not something that helps the deep state flourish with their plans and shenanigans. The High Priestess shows up as an insight card here, saying there's stuff going on behind the surface. And again, here's where I'm getting the nod that the White Hats were involved with the need for the hand counting, and the fact that there was, even to the degree they had, some integrity in their election process. So there we go. There was some White Hat involvement. There's some judgment. There's some people that aren't too happy about the results, but it was a huge empowerment time for the people of Alberta. And if they maintain their vigilance and their resolve to have fair elections that are shenanigan free, if they maintain that resolve, they will continue to have and lead the way for Canada, if not a larger platform than Canada, on how to have an election that reflects the will of the voters. Let's get a few more cards, see if there's some insights to be had. Now, these again will be for looking ahead, insights and information, not quite as impactful as the High Priestess card and the Five of Wands here. Okay. Got the Four of Pentacles, the Lover's card. So we've got a second major arcana showing up here. Now, when I see these, what that's telling me, okay, is that the people of Alberta, again, besides being vigilant, careful with your resources, they are showing more fiscal restraint and responsibility than many places, and even with the burden of all the wildfires that have been started in that province. There's a lot of hardworking people there that don't mind rolling up their sleeves and getting the job done. And that's going to be honored. The lover's card shows up, it's a card of agreement and balancing needs and wants. And again, if you're being careful with your resources and you're careful in distinguishing needs and wants, that's a path to success in politics as well as your personal life. Hierophant showing up, another major arcana, and the Four of Swords. The insights I get from the Hierophant card, again, to me, this is one of my deep state cards. It really is. It can have other functions and purposes, but again, just a nod that while the white hats were on it and did it, the unhappy parties are those players that were trying to push an unpopular candidate into a seat of power and not have much luck for it. This card shows some hidden blessings. So there's even more good things coming for the people of Alberta besides this election process. Hopefully the fires will stop being spread and started maliciously. There's enough that happened from natural causes without having shenanigans start more. But there's something coming for the people of Alberta that's even better than this. So maybe there's a plan of action that Danielle Smith will be announcing that will bring a lot of happiness. And in the meantime, though, there is a chance here to just go, whew, the election's over. We did it. Our candidate won. The people's will was heard and responded to. So let's recap. We were asking the universe if the White Hats were involved with the re-election yesterday in Alberta of Danielle Smith as premier. And if there were insights and information the universe wanted to share with us about that election process. We got that there's been a shift in the power. And we got that by the fact that there were fives that showed up in the past, present, and future. So there was a loss of control by the deep state over the balloting situation. The people were empowered and their true votes are being reflected in the count. And there was some advice from the cards moving forward that they needed to continue that vigilance, that resolve to keep machines out of the balloting process and to have balloting situations that have integrity. Okay, then we got a nod that there is in the near future, there's going to be some kind of good announcement for or a good tidings for the people of Alberta. This card often shows up when there is a little hidden blessing coming their way. Okay, so that was kind of cool. The Judgment card showed up too in the near future. So there are people that are facing some consequences that they rightly should face for actions they've taken or servitude that they didn't do well when they were supposed to be public servants. So I think there's going to be a little more house cleaning going on in Alberta than as a result of this election. And I think Alberta is going to continue to set a very high standard for the other provinces of Canada to follow as far as having people-centered leadership and making good, sound fiscal decisions, or as good as we can with our money systems in flux and changing or what have you. That's it for this video. I thank you so much for your time and viewership. I don't take you for granted. And I appreciate every one of you that is awake enough to the degree that you're willing to consider information systems that aren't traditional, that you're willing to listen to other points of view, even if you don't agree with them, and that you're not just sitting down and watching mainstream for 30 minutes a night and considering yourself well informed about the world around us. So kudos to you. Until next time, I send you love and light and everything bright. Bye.